Hi, welcome back. This is our second segment of Pathways of Hope. And I'm Michael Burke, and I actually am Executive Director of Pathways to Hope in for children in Redding, California. And with me is
Chan Hillman, and I'm a professor at the University of Oklahoma and director of the Hope Research Center.
And Chan is the leading hope theorist in the country. And in the last segment, he explained an overview with 30,000 foot, if you will, of what hope is, and that it's measurable. It's something that you can learn. It's something that you can teach, and it's something that's achievable. And we talked about little tiny goals. Do you want to do a quick recap on what hope is?
Sure. Hope is the belief that the future will be better than today and that you have the power to make it so. I think it's especially important to remind everybody that when we're talking about hope, it's about the goals that we set, the ability to find the pathways or the roadmaps to achieve those goals, and to be able to generate the agency or the mental energy that's required to pursue those pathways. I do want to take a moment and distinguish hope from a wish, because so often when we use the word hope in our everyday language, what we really mean is a wish. So, for instance, Mike, I hope you're well today, and you know what? I hope you have a great day. And here in Oklahoma, it's the stormy season, and so I really just hope that we don't have severe storms today. But in this context of hope, goals, pathway, and willpower, we have to understand that what we're really talking about is a wish, because a wish is when we have the agency or the willpower for an outcome. We just don't control the pathways to make that happen. So I have no way to control the weather. So what I should say is I wish it wouldn't storm today. So when we're talking about hope, I just want to make sure everybody understands we're not talking about a wish.
You always say, and I love to quote you on this, a goal without a pathway is a wish.
That is right. That is absolutely
So
right. That's the easiest way to say it.
so sometimes we might wish for this situation to just end in our country and around the world, but the pathway forward is social isolation. The pathway forward is getting the tests that you need. The pathways forward is all the things that our professionals and our caregivers that are out in the community fighting this disease are telling us, right?
That is absolutely right. That is absolutely right. We do have pathways for today with this uncertainty. We can socially isolate ourselves with our loved ones, or in small groups. But we can also take steps to support our community leaders and our healthcare providers, again through social isolation on the easiest framework. But think about all of the Facebook postings you're seeing where individuals and communities are coming together for uh, food for the youth who are out of schools, or sewing face masks for providers, and on and on and on. There are things we can do today to pursue what it means to live life well.
I love that. And in 2000 published studies on hope, I know you and our friend Casey Gwynn have done a lot of research around this. 2000 published studies on hope. Hope is the single best predictor of well-being.
That's right. That's
And I
right.
think that's a really powerful statement. But we're in April now, and it's Child Abuse Prevention Awareness Month. It's also Sexual Assault Awareness Month. But on this podcast, we're going to talk about child abuse awareness, where a lot of us are confined in our homes with our children. A lot of us are trying to figure out creative ways to engage with our children, to find hope, sometimes in a time of despair or a time of hopelessness. And I know for me and my family, I have a 17-year-old son who, once he got his car, we didn't see him as much, but he's socially isolating now. It's really hard on him. He's missing his friends, but he's doing Zoom calls. And I'm watching him persevere this, and I have so much hope for him. But it's also connected us as a family more. We're playing games, we're doing things. So this, to us and our family, it's been a time of reaching out and connecting
Mm.
because we have that. Can you share a little bit about how hope in children works?
Sure. So we actually can begin to nurture hope almost from the very beginning during infancy. But let's talk about sort of small children first. And One way to do that is, especially for very young children, is through stories. So as we're reading stories with our children, we can begin to break the story down and help them identify what are the goals of the main person, what are the strategies that they're using. Did those strategies work? Did they experience barriers? So we can use story to help children understand and learn goals, pathway, and agency. And in this fact, we actually refer to this as hope modeling. So parents and caregivers become models of hope for children.
So kind of the way we're reacting, take it to what's happening today in our households, the way we react to what we see is modeling the way that our kids are going to react to what we see.
Absolutely. And as you indicated earlier, being Child Abuse Awareness Month, one of the things that we found in our research in this area is that one of the single best predictors of child maltreatment is parenting stress. And so our research has actually shown that if we can begin to nurture hope in parents, it mitigates this parenting stress and in fact predicts stronger parent-child relationships. So hope becomes a coping resource for parents. And it's the same process, Mike. It's setting goals, it's finding those pathways, and then working towards the motivation to pursue those pathways.
So let's take a practical situation that we could all find ourselves in where we've been locked in our house now for a week and a half, and we can't get out. We're watching the news and we're getting all this input, and and things get heated. You get frustrated. It's a natural, I mean, on the four tiers of hope, right underneath hope is rage.
Right.
And we'll talk about that on the next podcast where we'll go through all four of them. But if you get angry, that's a natural reaction. So how can you, as a parent, bottle that anger maybe towards your spouse, maybe towards your child, maybe towards the president, maybe towards a situation that you can't control? How can you bottle that rage and get it back to hope?
Sure. I think first and foremost, you said something that I think is very important, and that is we have to recognize that anger and fear and rage can be natural human responses to our environment. It's really how do we express that anger and that rage, and so we have to find strategies to take a time out. So when a person begins to feel that emerging rage, is this a good opportunity just to take a step back and take a deep breath? We found that mindfulness practice has been very efficient, even in 30 seconds or less, can really begin to sort of help mitigate that anger. The other thing is knowing when it's an okay time to take a step back and maybe go to a different room, take some time, and in this time of social isolation, our houses become very small, and I think maybe one strategy is everybody has a place that's just their place that they can go to if they need to. Maybe that's a bathroom or your back porch or your front porch. But I think we each need a space where we can just go and take some self time to just reflect on where we are.
I love that because working with children every day in my current position as we run Shasta County Child Abuse Prevention Coordinating Council, we see times where people may or may not value children's need for space as much. So I love what you're saying about not only the parents need their space, but the children do too, because they are getting bottled up. They're getting rage because their agency and pathway can't be reached. So
That's
they'll
right.
go to rage. They have a goal of learning. Maybe they're missing their school friends. They're missing their situations, and they have a goal of getting back to normal, but it's being blocked right now. They have
That's
the
right.
agency, but not the pathway. So one way you're saying is to give children and listen to them and give them the opportunity to share and talk, and then also give them that opportunity to have their own space and be healthy in that way. I love that idea. Is there any other suggestions that you have with all your work around children that parents can use to cope during this time?
Sure. I think walking through um, pathways. I think setting down and helping children set, when this is over, or when we get to go back with our friends, what are some things you would like to do? So let's go back to setting some goals. And if you walk that back, find a pathway. And maybe that's just finding a time where your child has an opportunity, 5 minutes a day, to connect with their friends in some fashion. But yeah, I think it's okay to do some goal setting.
Creating future memories of success is a
That
big
is
thing
absolutely
here.
right.
And I think that's really important. I think a takeaway from this time together today is that you could set goals with your children. Maybe those goals are you're going to teach them how to cook today. Maybe it's that time that you're going to interact. Maybe it's time to teach them how to vacuum, or you've always wanted to work on that car in the garage or plant that garden together. So maybe now's the time where you can come up with those goals. I know at my work, we created a hope jar, and we wrote down things that you could do for self-care in 15 minutes. And everybody took 10 pieces of paper and wrote something down. So when people are feeling low hope, or they're feeling rage, or they're feeling like they need a bump and they need that self-care time, we go to the self-care hope jar, get it out, do whatever it says on it. So one way you can do it is create goals as a family and write those goals down, and make long-term goals and short-term goals and throw them all into a jar. And when you just can't figure out what to do, go to your goal jar. This is what we're going to focus on today.
That's fantastic, Mike. As you were saying that, it just dawned on me, and I sorry to take just another minute, but one of the strategies that parents can do with their children today and every day, and it's so simple, is as you're watching the news or listening to the news, why not set a little bit of a focus where maybe around mealtime, we ask everybody around the table, where did you see hope today?
Mhm.
And think about what positive things are going on TV or in our communities that we're hearing about. Who are the hope heroes in our lives?
I love that, because at Camp Hope America, every day after a long day of camping, we'll talk more about Camp Hope on another call, but we ask the kids every day, where did you see hope today? And believing in yourself, others, and your dreams. And just listening to the stories and how powerful it is for somebody to tell somebody else they saw hope in them, or to realize I saw hope in myself. So I love that. We do that as a staff. We just had, we have 33 people on our staff, and we had a big Zoom staff meeting where all the screens were filled with everybody. And we went around and talked about where we saw hope today and where we saw hope in each other. And because we're not connecting like we used to, we're finding connection through technology. So I love
Right.
that, Chan. So that'll wrap up this call for this day. And remember, it is Child Abuse Prevention Awareness Week. It's also, month. It's also Sexual Assault Awareness Month. So find out the resources in your community. Make sure you reach out to them. Donate if you can. Support if you can. Know that this is a tough time for businesses, families, nonprofits, profits, education system. But we're getting through it, and we're getting through it together. So on the next podcast, we're going to talk about healthcare workers and something we can do. Chan mentioned a little bit earlier, some people are making masks, but really looking at those frontline people, not just healthcare workers, but people who work for the county, who are figuring out the community's response, and just kind of talk about those frontline people and how we can support them with hope. So thank you. I'm Michael Burke,
And I'm Chan Hillman.
and we will be with you next time with lots of hope. Let's go forth and do great things.